Hi everyone, and welcome back to my tiny house in the forest. After I finally finished the greenery last week, I had some time freed up to get some things done out in the garden. And this week I also found the time to finally build the porch on the west side of my cabin, which is something I'll show you a little later in the video. But before I could start my new building project, I wanted to plant out as many plants as possible in my permaculture garden, because now that the drought has finally ended, the soil is both warm and moist enough to give the plants a good head start. While I did plant out and sow a lot of annual plants like leeks and carrots and beans, I mostly planted out perennial plants because it is a permaculture forest garden. Because in permaculture you want to focus primarily on the permanent crops. And there are many good reasons for that. One is that permanent plants and their root systems help create a more healthy and resilient soil. One that better can withstand the type of drought that we have just experienced here in Denmark, and most likely will experience soon again. To the great distress of many conventional farmers here in Denmark who only grow annual crops that are much more vulnerable to climate changes. Another good reason for growing perennials is that they can produce fruit earlier and have a longer season for harvesting. So in my garden I'm experimenting with a lot of different types of perennials. The goal is that my garden in time will be able to produce food for me all year round. And of course, it wouldn't be a day in the garden if I didn't have to redo a major project that I just did recently. And this time it was to rebuild 2 of my 3 newly built hugel mounds so that they could store more water in light of the recent droughts. So just a small update out here from the garden. So I've just been planting out some different perennial plants that I bought at the local permaculture plant nursery that we have only a couple of kilometers from here, where a local couple, they sell and produce plants for permaculture gardening. And so it's just perfect that I have that just in the backyard, and it's a wonderful place, so it's always nice to go there. And I actually found some interesting plants like this. It's called sukkerrod in Danish, and it was the plant that we used back in the day before we got potatoes from South America imported to Denmark and started using them. We used this plant instead. And this plant, I think it's called a scorsone root. And it's also a very, very old plant here in Denmark, and we used it in the Middle Ages to eat, and it's pretty healthy. You can eat the leaves and you can also eat the roots. So I will propagate them and make them spread as well as the other plants. And this also perennial leek of sort. This is actually a hügelmount that I undid or remade last week, I think it was, because the old hügelmount was going down there and down here, but it didn't actually utilize this very sunny spot on the left of me. So I decided to divide this massive hügelmount up into two. So it was, so I could utilize the sunny parts a bit better. And then when I dug down into the hügelmount, I discovered something quite surprising, but actually lovely. And it was that in the middle of the Hügelmound, even though we were in the middle of a drought, it was just so wet in there because it worked perfectly. Because the idea with the Hügelmound is that it sucks up a lot of water and stores it in this mushy environment of decomposing leaves and logs in the middle of it. And it just worked perfectly, and there were even plants that had their roots down in that system collecting water and nutrients from that mass of material. So that was just so nice to see that the Hügelmound, even after only a year, because I made it last year, worked so perfectly. And also the soil was teeming with life. There were a lot of beetles and rainworms and I guess a lot of bacteria as well, just like you want to in a healthy alive soil. So that was really good to know. So these new Hügelmounds, this is actually 2 Hügelmounds now, they comprise of that same soil and also the same logs, so I didn't disturb it too much. And then I made this scaffolding for the beans, the crawler beans that will go up, and then I have a Hokkaido pumpkin in the middle because the beans will then send nitrogen and fixate it into the soil and send it off to the nitrogen hungry pumpkin plant. So these are all companion plants in one way or the other. They support one another. So that's kind of the idea with these Hügelmounds over here. And then I have this new bed that I also made in last week. And it's something called a guild, which is a principle in permaculture where you plant different types of plants of different heights together with one another in some kind of companionship. So you have like the big trees, the birch tree in this case, that can cast and provide some shade for some of the plants. Then you have the smaller trees like the apple tree that I have just behind me. It's a small apple tree. And then you have the bush layer, which is these gooseberries, and yeah, I have some other gooseberries as well. And then you have the ground cover layer like the strawberries, and the herbal layer like the mint and the lovage that I have here, and also some rosemaries and yeah, different Mediterranean herbs as well. And then you have the crawly plant layer. So I have some yams that I bought at the permaculture plant nursery yesterday, and also some gooseberry kiwi, and they will crawl up. And I could also have like the root layer if I had potatoes down here as well, or I could have the mushroom layer if I had some logs with mushrooms as well. So you can have different types of layers integrated in one single bed, and the idea is that they don't compete for the sunlight because they have different heights, and also they don't compete that much for the nutrients in the soil because their different sizes make so that they extract nutrients from different levels in the ground. So they should like be helping one another, and by having them so tightly together, they also cover the ground with edible plants so that you don't get a whole lot of weed in the bed. So it should be relatively self-maintaining. So that's another bed that I've been working on. So far so good. So hi Bossy. That was almost all the work that I need to do with the porch for now. I still need to give it some oil of some sort, and I'll just need to figure out what type of oil I will use. But I don't want to burn it because I think it looks nice when it has this wooden quality. So, but it still needs some oil because the oil will fill out the fibers so that the wood becomes a bit more hard and resistant to dirt, and also just more durable. But I have placed the boards with the hard side up so that they are smiling in a way. And it just means that they are more durable in terms of weather and stuff like that. And seasonal changes, none the least. So, but it's so nice to finally have this porch, because now I have this afternoon and evening spot where I can get the sun in and enjoy the last bit of sun and warmth from for the day. And also just have a place where I can place my shoes before I go into the house. That's a very good thing. Sæt den ned. Sæt den ned. Yeah, so I'm really enjoying that, and I'm pretty satisfied with the result actually. Also just knowing that these materials are quite sustainable. It's these beams are from the forest just next to my property, where I bought them from a neighbor and cut them down. And the planks for the porch is, as you saw, from the sawmill, which is also locally sourced wood. So it's also pretty local and pretty sustainable that way. And as you have seen in this video, I got this wood from that local sawmill, and also the plants from the permaculture nursery that I went to yesterday. And I actually also like this idea about buying your stuff from local producers when you can, and thereby in a way stimulating the local economy and the jobs in your local neighborhood. Because otherwise you could buy all of your stuff in some kind of chain store, and then all of that wealth and money would just be siphoned away to some headquarters far, far away from your local community. And I like the idea that you, in a way, invest your money in your own local neighborhood, and that you know your local producers in that way, and they know you. Even though it's a bit romantic, I think it's actually a pretty sustainable way of keeping money flow in circulation in the local community, so that people can have jobs, and so that everything is connected and vibrant in a way. And that's what's happening so many places, I guess, also here in Denmark, that these areas like the one that I live in now, they are getting totally drained because everyone is moving to the city, so there are no real local businesses, and we have these massive chain stores everywhere, and they just siphon money away from the local neighborhoods. So just being part of a new beginning feels really good in terms of just contributing to these local producers. And who knows, maybe being one myself one day, I don't know. But anyways, this was what I had to do for this week, the porch. And then it means that I'm ready for putting up cladding on the house next week. And if I can make that deadline, it means that by the end of May, will have the house more or less finished on the outside. And then I can focus more on furniture and also the garden for June and July. And I really need some time to be in the garden right now, because I have had it with building stuff for the moment, because now I have been building for almost 6 months, 5.5 months of building this house, and now I'm ready to do something else. But thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and see you again next time.